He told her to sit in the back because she didn't belong. What he didn't know, she grew up in a boxing ring. Most people don't remember their first ride on a new school bus. But Tiana Brooks, she'll never forget hers. It was a chilly Monday morning in February, and the sun barely peeked out over the rooftops in Carmel, Indiana. Tiana stood at the edge of her driveway, hoodie up, earbuds in, pretending she couldn't feel the cold air nibbling at her face. She wasn't nervous. At least, that's what she kept telling herself. She was just watching the bus crawl up the block, watching how the driver didn't even glance at her, watching the kids already on board, eyes bouncing from phone screens to each other, loud with inside jokes she didn't understand. She took a breath and climbed up the steps. The driver, a man in his 60s with tired eyes and a coffee-stained polo, didn't say a word. No good morning. No, what's your name? Just hit the gas before she even picked a seat. Tiana walked slowly, every step down the aisle stretching longer than it should. The bus fell quiet. Not completely silent, but that kind of fake quiet where people stop talking just long enough to stare. She could feel the weight of it. The pause, the whisper that travels without sound. She found an empty seat near the front and slid in, setting her backpack in her lap like a shield. Some girl 2 rows back giggled. A boy nearby whispered something under his breath. Tiana couldn't hear the words, but she recognized the tone. That mix of mockery and curiosity, like she was an animal at the zoo. She kept her face still, but her ears were wide open. Her grandma used to say, "Don't let 'em know what you're thinking. Let 'em wonder." This wasn't Tiana's first time being the new girl. Her mom's job moved them around a lot. Milwaukee, then St. Louis, now Indiana. But this town felt different. The looks were different. Here, she was the only one who looked like her. No cousins to back her up. No childhood friends who knew her story. Just her, alone. Tiana wasn't scared, though. She'd been through worse. What nobody on that bus knew, what they couldn't have guessed just from looking at her, was that she wasn't soft. Her late father, Tiana Brooks, had taught her to hold her head up no matter where she was, to stay sharp, to choose when to speak and when to fight. But on that first morning, she chose silence. She stared out the window, tuning out the whispers behind her. She wasn't going to let a bus full of strangers decide who she was. Not yet. But someone else on that bus had already decided, and he was just waiting for the right moment to show it. It started the next day. Second ride, same bus, same routine. But this time, Logan made his move. Logan Brackett sat near the middle, dead center of attention, surrounded by the same 3 boys who always laughed at his jokes a little too hard. The type who needed someone to follow, the type who wouldn't think twice before laughing at someone else's expense if it meant staying in Logan's good graces. Tiana walked down the aisle again, keeping her pace steady, just like the day before. But when she passed Logan's seat, his foot suddenly slid into the aisle. She didn't trip, but her shin clipped his boot. She paused, just for a second, then kept walking. Didn't look at him. Didn't give him the reaction he wanted. That silence? Logan hated it. "Hey," he called out, loud enough for the whole bus to hear. "Front seats are for real students. You want to sit back there." The words hung in the air like cigarette smoke. No one laughed, not yet. Even his boys looked unsure. But Logan smiled like he was doing everybody a favor, like he was restoring some kind of balance. Tiana turned around, slowly, calm. She looked him dead in the eyes. "I'm fine where I am." 3 seconds of silence. Then one of Logan's boys, the one with braces and an oversized hoodie, let out a weak laugh. Just enough to make it safe for the rest to join in. Snickers, whispers. A few eyes darted away, pretending they didn't hear. Logan leaned back in his seat, arms stretched across the top like a king on his throne. "You new here?" he asked, already knowing the answer. Tiana didn't answer. "I mean, you must be. People from around here know how it works." She raised an eyebrow. "Yeah? How's it work?" Logan shrugged. "You keep to your kind. You stay where you belong." There it was. No need to decode it. He wanted her to know exactly what he meant. The bus driver didn't say a word. He just kept driving like it was just another Tuesday. Tiana exhaled through her nose, slow and steady, then turned back around and walked to her seat near the front. She didn't clap back, didn't raise her voice, didn't curse, but Logan didn't see that as strength. He saw it as weakness. From that moment on, she was a target. He started small, comments, loud enough for her to hear, but just quiet enough that he could play innocent if anyone called him out. Smells different in here now. You hear they got transfer programs for people like her? Bet she gets free lunch. It wasn't just the words, it was the looks. The exaggerated coughs when she walked by. The kids moving their backpacks like she might steal something just by passing. But still, Tiana didn't bite. She told herself, keep your peace, don't let a fool turn you into one. Her mom always said people like Logan were scared of what they didn't understand. That ignorance wore a lot of masks. Loud laughter, fake confidence, sideways comments. But it all came from fear. So Tiana kept her calm. But Logan, he wasn't finished yet. Because the more she ignored him, the more he felt invisible. And people like him, they hate being invisible. By the end of her first week, Tiana knew every crack in that bus floor, every squeaky seat, every pair of eyes that watched her walk in like she was wearing a target on her back. Logan made sure of it. His comments weren't random anymore. They were routine, planned, like clockwork. Every morning, right when she stepped onto the bus, Logan would toss some new insult her way. Sometimes it was about her clothes, sometimes her hair, sometimes it was nothing at all, just a smirk and a nudge to his boys, as if her existence was the joke. His circle ate it up. There was Trevor, always chewing gum and echoing whatever Logan said 2 seconds later. Benji, the smallest one, tried too hard, laughed too loud, pointed too much. And then Liam, who mostly stayed quiet, but never once stood up. The kind of silence that's louder than a shout. Tiana noticed the others too. The kids who sat nearby, eyes glued to their phones, headphones in with no music playing, just pretending not to see. She didn't blame them, not really. Everyone on that bus was just trying to survive in their own way, but it still stung. Friday morning, Logan pulled a new trick. As Tiana walked past his row, he stuck a foot out again. But this time he timed it better, caught the edge of her shoe. She stumbled, not enough to fall, but enough to make her drop her binder. Paper slid across the aisle like leaves in the wind. And that's when Logan really showed who he was. Oops, he said, grinning. Didn't see you there. Trevor barked a laugh. Benji smacked the back of the seat in front of him like it was comedy gold. Liam looked away. Tiana didn't say a word. She knelt, picked up her papers one by one, and stood up. Straight spine, eyes steady. Then she locked eyes with Logan and said just loud enough, "Didn't see you either." The laughter stopped. He didn't know how to react. He was used to control, used to people shrinking, staying quiet, avoiding him. But she looked him in the face like he was nothing special, like he was just noise. Still, the damage was done. The rest of the ride, she could feel the heat in her cheeks, could feel the eyes. Her hands clenched so tight around her binder, her knuckles turned pale. But she didn't cry. She wouldn't. That afternoon, when she got home, her mom was in the kitchen, prepping for her night shift. The house smelled like garlic and onions, and the old clock on the wall ticked louder than it needed to. Her mom glanced up. "Rough day." Tiana shrugged. "Same." Her mom studied her face for a second, then went back to slicing peppers. "You know, your dad used to say people don't mess with quiet storms. They act like they don't see it, but they know it's there. They feel it. You keep being that storm, baby." Tiana didn't answer, but she heard it. She heard all of it. But even a storm has a limit, and Logan was about to find out where hers ended. Saturday morning came like a reset button. No bus, no Logan, just quiet. Tiana woke up early anyway, like always. The habit was hard to break. She padded downstairs in socks and grabbed a bottle of water, then slipped into the garage. That was her spot. Her piece. Her dad's old punching bag still hung in the corner, worn and faded, duct tape wrapping the seams where the leather had started to split. The gloves, too big for her hands when she was little, now fit just right. She slipped them on, tightened the straps. Then she stood still for a second, remembering. Her dad used to stand behind her when she punched, always calm, never rushed. "Don't swing to hurt," he'd say. "Swing to mean it." That's the difference between chaos and control. She threw a jab, then another, quick, clean, letting out slow breaths with each hit. She could still hear his voice in her head. "Don't fight just 'cause someone's loud. Let them be loud. Let them burn out. But when the line gets crossed, you remind them you don't break. Her dad wasn't big on speeches, but he believed in preparation. Tiana had been in the ring since she was 8, sparring with kids twice her size. She didn't do it to prove anything. She did it because it taught her how to breathe when people tried to shake her. The bag swung slightly, and she followed its rhythm, throwing combinations. Pop, 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 pop. Sweat dripped down her temples, and for a moment, she wasn't thinking about Logan or that bus or those stupid laughs. She was just here, centered. Her mom popped her head in after a while. "You okay in here?" "Yeah," Tiana said, catching her breath. "Want pancakes?" Tiana smiled a little. Later, her mom paused, then walked over and ran her fingers along the old boxing gloves hanging on the wall. "You know he'd be proud, right?" Tiana didn't answer, but her throat tightened. Her mom didn't push it. She just squeezed Tiana's shoulder gently, then left the garage. Later that day, Tiana found herself sitting on the porch watching the kids ride their bikes down the block. She noticed how their parents stood nearby, arms folded, just watching her, like she was something to keep an eye on. It was subtle, but she'd seen it before. She was used to it, but it still made her chest tighten in that way she couldn't quite explain. She didn't want to be tough all the time, she just wanted peace. But peace wasn't free. Not here, and certainly not on that bus. And come Monday, she'd find out just how far Logan was willing to push her to take it away. Monday hit different. Tiana woke up with a weight in her stomach. She'd slept fine, but her body felt like it knew something was coming. She brushed her hair back into 2 braids, pulled on her hoodie, and grabbed her backpack without saying much. Her mom handed her a granola bar at the door. "You good?" she asked. Tiana hesitated. "I'm fine." The bus was early that morning. When it stopped in front of her house, the brakes hissed louder than usual. She stepped on. Same driver, same eyes that avoided hers. She walked down the aisle. Logan was waiting. This time, he didn't just speak. He stood. Tiana paused halfway down the aisle. Logan stepped into it, blocking the path to her usual seat. His friends leaned into the aisle, watching. "You deaf or something?" Logan asked, loud. "I said that seat's taken." Tiana tilted her head. "By who?" "By whoever deserves it. Not you." She looked at him, calm. "I'm not moving." Gasps, a few whispers. One kid in the back even muttered, "Ding!" Logan took a step closer. Too close. He was taller, broader, but Tiana didn't flinch. "What'd you say?" "I said I'm not moving," she repeated. "You got something else to say it. Otherwise, move." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I'm warning you." But then he did it. He shoved her. Not hard enough to knock her over, but enough to send a message. Enough to show off in front of his boys. Enough to draw a line. And that's when something inside her snapped. Tiana didn't yell, didn't scream. She dropped her backpack to the floor and squared her stance. One kid in the back whispered, "Uh-oh." Before Logan could open his mouth again, she slipped to the side, ducked his shoulder, and threw a clean body shot straight to his ribs. He buckled. Not dramatic, not like in the movies. But his breath caught, his whole body twisted, and his face went red. Then she stepped back. "That was a warning," she said, voice low but firm. "Try that again, and I won't hold back." Dead silence. The entire bus watched, mouths open. Even the driver turned around in his seat, eyebrows raised. Logan held his side, still bent over. "You crazy?" "No," she said. "I just don't let people put hands on me." She picked up her bag, walked past him, and sat in her usual seat. Nobody laughed. Nobody spoke. The air was heavy, like the bus had forgotten how to breathe. Logan slumped into his seat without another word. Trevor didn't say anything. Benji suddenly found the window real interesting. Liam looked straight ahead, jaw tight. The rest of the ride was quiet. Real quiet. Tiana stared out the window, heart pounding in her chest, but her face didn't show it. She didn't regret it. Not for a second. She'd been pushed, poked, tested, and now everyone knew she wasn't going to break. She wasn't scared. Not of Logan. Not of his noise. And in that silence, for the first time since she'd stepped on that bus, Tiana felt something like control. But school hadn't even started yet. And when it did, this moment was going to follow her through every hallway. The story didn't stay on the bus. By second period, the whole school knew what happened. Tiana walked into algebra and heads turned like she was a celebrity. Not in the good way, not in the you go girl way. It was more like people weren't sure whether to fear her or admire her. Logan wasn't in class. Word was, he'd gone to the nurse's office, said his side hurt, said he got jumped. That part made Tiana laugh. Jumped? She hit him once. Ms. Flannery called her to the front just before the bell rang. "Principal wants to see you," she said softly. Tiana nodded, already knowing this was coming. She walked the hallway alone, books clutched tight, chin high. A couple kids watched her go by, whispering. One girl, white, blonde, sitting with a group near the lockers, just stared, eyes narrow like she was trying to figure out how someone like Tiana even got in this school. In the office, Principal Randall was waiting. He wasn't angry, but he wasn't warm either. "Tiana," he said, folding his hands, "I've got some concerns about this morning." She didn't say anything. Logan Brackett came in with bruised ribs. He said there was a physical altercation on the bus. Tiana met his eyes. "Did he say why?" "He claims he told you to move and you attacked him." She snorted. "That's not what happened." Principal Randall leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "I'm not saying I believe him, but the issue is bigger than just he said, she said." Tiana stayed calm. "Ask the other students." "Already working on it," he said. "But in the meantime, I need you to understand something. This school takes all physical conflicts seriously, even when provoked." She clenched her jaw. "So I'm supposed to just let him shove me?" "That's not what I'm saying." "It's what you're implying." He didn't respond to that right away. Instead, he handed her a slip. "1-day suspension. You'll stay in in-school suspension today. Your mom's already been called." Tiana took the slip without a word. As she stood to leave, he added, "Look, Tiana, I know this transition's been hard. I know being new can come with challenges, but meeting violence with violence doesn't help anything." She turned back. "I didn't start this. I ended it." Then she walked out. That night, her mom didn't yell. She didn't even seem surprised. "I told you to protect your peace," she said quietly over dinner. "Not to be silent." Tiana nodded. "I tried. I really tried." "I know, baby. But now they see you." Tiana didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her mom reached out, touched her hand, and that was enough. The next morning, the bus was quieter. When Tiana got on, the usual stares were there, but no words, no laughter, no Logan. She walked past his empty seat and sat down without looking at anyone. And something had shifted. No one moved, no one challenged, no one even breathed too loud. She looked out the window like always, but this time she let a small smile creep onto her face. But peace is only real when it's shared, and what happened next proved that this story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Logan came back 2 days later, bruise still fresh on his side, swagger a little dimmed, but the attitude, still there, just quieter, like a balloon halfway deflated but still floating. He didn't speak to Tiana, didn't look at her either, but the way he walked said everything. He wasn't used to being checked, especially not by someone he thought was beneath him. That bruise, it didn't just hurt his body, it bruised his ego. Still, Logan wasn't the only one who'd changed. That morning, a girl named Caden, who always sat 3 rows back with her sketchbook open, quietly slid into the seat beside Tiana. She didn't say much, just, "Hey." Tiana looked up. "Hey." "You were right to hit him," Caden said, still flipping pages in her book. "He's been pushing people around since 4th grade. Someone had to shut him up." Tiana blinked, surprised. "Why didn't anybody say anything?" Caden shrugged. "Because most people are scared to lose what little peace they have. And some, they just don't want to be next." Tiana nodded. She got it. That afternoon, a boy she barely knew offered to carry her books. Another held the door. Little things, nothing loud, just shifts, respect, recognition. But not everybody was happy about it. Logan's friends gave her looks, hard stares, whispered to each other whenever she walked by, but they didn't dare say it to her face. And the best part? Liam, the quiet one from Logan's crew, caught up to her one day after class. He hesitated. "Hey, I saw what happened on the bus." Tiana turned to him. Okay. I didn't. I should have said something. I just. I didn't. She could see it on his face, the guilt, the shame. You still can, she said. Next time, speak up. That's how this stops. He nodded. Yeah, okay. By Friday, things felt lighter. Not perfect, but different. Tiana still sat in the same seat, still walked the same hallways, but she walked taller now. Not because she fought, but because she didn't let someone define her with silence. People started seeing her for who she really was. Not just the new girl, not just that black girl on the bus. She was Tiana, calm, sharp, real, the way her dad taught her. This isn't just a story about standing up for yourself. It's a story about choosing when to speak and how. About carrying your power without letting it turn into anger. About reminding people that silence doesn't mean surrender. Tiana didn't fight to prove she was strong. She fought to remind them she'd always been strong. They just hadn't been paying attention. If you've ever been in Tiana's shoes, or known someone who has, don't let it pass you by. Speak up, stand tall, be the storm, but control it. And most of all, remember, you don't have to be loud to be heard.